it's very hard for people in the West to get their head around the war. It's just so complex. In terms of life here in Syria, it's probably very simple, but studying it in the West, it's very complex. But I've recently written an article which looks at just 1 month in the war, and that's August 2013, and I think it's a pivotal month. You've got 3 particular events happening in that 1 month. So at the beginning of the month, you had a massacre in Latakia, and villages were killed, perhaps 200 villages, women and children, a lot of women and children, and about the same number were abducted. And the people responsible for the massacre were about 20 armed groups, ranging from the Free Syrian Army to ISIS.
Yeah.
The second event that I think is very important in telling us about the war is the so-called sarin gas attack in Damascus, in Ghouta, on the 21st of August 2013. And I've read a document, a 288-page document by Dr. Dennis O'Brien, who was a US lawyer and neuropharmacologist, and he studied all the videos and images that were available from that event, and he said quite categorically there wasn't a sarin gas attack. They didn't die from sarin poisoning. They died, he said, from either carbon monoxide poisoning or cyanide poisoning that could not have been carried in a weapon. So they were killed by the insurgents. The third event allegedly occurred in the countryside of Aleppo, in a town in Aleppo, and the BBC reported it, and they filmed what were allegedly victims of what was once said at the beginning of the report, said to be a napalm attack on a school. But an activist in Britain, Robert Stewart, has analysed that footage very minutely, frame by frame, over years now, and he has shown that it was a fabricated, staged event. I believe that learning the truth about these events can perhaps alter people's perceptions of the war. Do you think that 1 month is pivotal, as I think so?
First of all, I would really like to thank all these people who worked on whether on the month of August or on the events in Aleppo, or any person who seeks the truth of what has taken place in Syria. I received from the other end, the people or some people from these villages, Haramo villages, who were raped, kidnapped, killed by the terrorists. The only guilt these people or these villages have is that they are Alawite villages in the rural areas of Latakia. And I received, for example, one blind young man who was blinded during the event, and whose mother was raped, whose sisters were taken hostages, whose youngest son was killed in front of him, and they were coming to me to help them see if we know about the hostages, those who were taken hostages. Some of the villages were erased completely out of the earth. Crimes are so alien to the Syrian people. Honestly, we have never ever heard of such crimes happening to our people, and therefore I only would love to know who are these beasts who were perpetrating these crimes. They are, for me, simply they are not human, because most of the men in these villages are in the army. And in Syria, they could be in Idlib, they could be in Aleppo. I mean, the army doesn't fight locally. They are in the army, which means they are anywhere. And these villages almost have no men. Even when they have somebody killed and brought to the village, there's no one to make a grave for him. That's what they told me. They said there was no one. There was, only children, 14, and for the boys, and the rest are in the army. And so the terrorists knew this, and they attacked these villages in the most horrible way ever. As for the sarin gas in Ghouta, I mean, it stands to reason that, we received the delegation of the UN in the evening, and then in the morning there was an attack, the claimed attack. I mean, the government would not be stupid to work against its own interest, to have the delegation from the UN coming to investigate and then to make an attack in gas sarin or chemical weapon or whatever. I would like to add to that the white helmets, that they gave them Oscar in the United States, and they are terrorists. They follow al-Nusra, and the Vanessa Bailey, who is like you, a very respectable journalist, spent years by now investigating truly what the white helmets did. And this boy Omran, they put on television, and all the lies they fabricated, and the massacre of River Aqoiq in Aleppo, also that they threw people into the river. All this was done by the white helmets, and Vanessa Bailey went to the Security Council and spoke to the Security Council about white helmets, and her her findings are on YouTube, and still the West keeps speaking about the white helmets as humanitarian, and they have now a film, I forgot what is it called, that is running in Europe, that showing them how humane they are and how they are saving the children now. All first of all, massacres and horrible crimes are perpetrated against our people, and second, a huge media is devoted to justify these crimes and to sometimes to show them as if we did them, like now in Idlib. I mean, our people in Idlib are under Turkish occupation and under al-Nusra, and there are over 50,000 terrorists in Idlib, and Nusra is classified even by the UN as a terrorist organization, and yet they submit a resolution in the Security Council accusing the Syrian government of destroying hospitals and the schools. I mean, it is mind-blowing, really. The problem is that we are not strong in Western media. They don't allow us. I mean, even when I want to talk to them, they take their questions, and their way of running the interviews is accusatory, is not to allow us to say anything, while they give all the platform to Muslim brothers or to the terrorists or to the white helmets or to all those who support them. They show films and make videos and write books about them, and make those available for researchers and for people who want to know about what went on in Syria. It's a huge, falsification of history, really. And just between brackets, now I started a research center called Wathiqat Watan in order to write the history of the war on Syria by interviewing people, through interviewing real people who lived through this war. And I hope I will have enough time in my life to translate this history to English and to other languages, so that Western people would know exactly what went on in Syria.